terms of like a moment in which we decided to make an album, it's hard to pinpoint it as like one moment where like we decided like out. It kind of feels like this natural conclusion you just like arrive to of like you did a few EPs, so it's kind of like the next logical step.
There were certain moments post I Love You Robot Superstar where we really got the initial urge to do a full length.
It just felt like this was really the time to sink our teeth into a lot of songs we've been working on for a while.
One of the things that like I think stood out as a must for us was that like it would be us doing the record. You know, between the five of us, like we have a lot of different skill sets, and we were like, we feel like we can pull those together and like, you know, build this from the ground up.
As long as we could just continue to explore and experiment, then I was going to be happy in the end.
Get a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Literally, for me at least, that was like a must. Like we have to go somewhere and be shacked up. The fucking five of us, you know. Other than that, no. Booze a lot, eat a lot of hot dogs. So that was like all the must we had.
We decided on Georgia because it turns out that we don't have a lot of money.
We looked at fucking Big Bear in California to record the album, and we looked at Nashville, and we looked at fucking Wisconsin and Michigan, and Georgia was the cheapest.
So we found this really cool cabin, and we kind of started dreaming up like, here's where we're gonna live space, and then there's the recording space, and we could put drums here and all that stuff. And I think once we found that Airbnb, then we started to dream up how it would look. It just kind of fell into place.
We came in with, I think it was 60 songs, and we made several lists in Google Docs.
The first night in Georgia, we had basically wrote every song out that we had written in the past, and put them in like a love, like, dislike list. And we basically did a democracy vote. You know, if there's three of us who like it, then we'll keep working on it.
I think that was honestly one of the best nights, was like picking the songs, sitting down and being like, okay, we need to decide now.
Can you come out hotter?
It's a jarring song in general. I feel like that's why we picked it as like the first song, right?
Totally.
It's because it's so absurd.
Yeah, big statement right off the bat.
Yeah, like commands your attention.
I just like the way that it started.
Drew, James, and I put a vocals through guitar pedals. We had that like verse idea, that first verse thing, and then we kind of just ran with it and made this really weird song.
I hate to say it, but I think the outro of Nowhere is probably my favorite moment of music. I'm a big sucker for like 16th note hat beats and like crazy guitar licks.
I also think like the perfect happy accident, that little like blip at the end where the guy is like, yeah, somewhere.
That was from, for some reason, radio shit coming through your guitar.
Yeah. You had like left the room and like we were doing something else, and it was just like, wait,
heard someone
what
talking.
the fuck? What a fucking serendipitous thing.
Cool song though. I think my mom's gonna hate it, but that's okay.
How often do you get a crazy disco vibe with a big riff? You know, I mean, that's
True.
Yeah.
Two beautiful worlds collide. I think we had done maybe 3 songs up until that point. Like, I think we had worked on Nowhere and Coffin and like Spectator, all very successfully.
Yeah.
And then that was like the first bump in the road.
It was written in this format where it was just kind of, there were like 3 choruses basically, or 3 hooks. I was firmly in the camp of let it be where it was. It's like a 2.5-minute song with a bunch of riffs, and I was completely okay with that. But then as it grew, we were like, this song needs structure. The fact that it doesn't have structure is taking away from the integrity of the song.
Remember we were trying to figure out like how syncopated the bass was.
Yeah.
Like, we tried every part.
That's cool.
Like this bass was not meant to be shredded on. That's what a quitter would say.
What are we doing here, Sean?
I don't know.
But it's awesome, like where it ended up.
Yeah,
I feel
I'm
like
really proud of where it is.
we did
now.
such a
I
good
really
job
enjoy it.
of like
Yeah.
kind of sorting through all the shit.
Frickin' Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Maybe I need to go to a bar. Maybe that's why I have a headache.
Let's call it hesitation.
It's almost like it should be. It's like the walk-on song of the band playing at the Vampire Disco Club.
What a weird fucking song. Like, it's funny because I feel like even watching back footage of us, there's like so many crazy references we pulled from. We're listening to Troye Sivan, we're listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers, we're talking about Polyphia. Like, it's like weird shit that we were pulling from.
It's cool because that one, like, was one of the ones that I feel like, we incepted as the five of us in a room together. Because you hear like everybody's sound in that song. I feel
Totally.
Which is so funny because I remember when we were going through all the songs too, I didn't think Vampire Disco was going to be on the album, like, at all.
It's like maybe a small theme on the record too of like kind of these underdog songs like coming out of nowhere. Like, it is so funny how, you know, on that like love, hate list that we all had, like I don't think anyone was like Vampire Disco, you know?
So it's just this.
I like Sean's riff at the end of Spectator where he bends the power chord. You know, you say you shouldn't do it, but he did it and changed lives.
I remember I walked back in and you guys were like, oh, check this out. You know, Sean made this little thing. And as the resident, like, Ford F-150 music lover, I was so happy.
But I remember there was a big issue with it being like, it's riff overload.
Right.
This song.
Right.
That was part of it, yeah.
No such thing.
Glares?
Glare.
Glare.
This is gonna be wrong for a moment.
But right for eternity.
Also, that like transition sound into verse 2 is the door from the cabin. You like got a sample of the door, so there was like the creakiest fucking door on that cabin.
Yes, door. Dude, what we're saying, I really like what we're saying and how we're saying it, and kind of talking about anxiety and intimate moments and like learning to be present and to fight that part of you that just wants to be apathetic and sort of watch from above, to spectate.
Being in Georgia in the forest and tracking it there, like, that song gains so much from that experience. I feel like every time I hear that song, like, it makes me think of Georgia, like being in the woods, creating an album.
I feel like this song is such a delicate vocal song, where it's like, if you don't pay the reverence that the song deserves, it just won't land. And I feel like James is tracking vocals with you late into one of the evenings, like we got this like
Coughing, smoking way too often, throwing away my caution.
I think it almost is too dead.
And I love too, I was thinking about that like long debate we had about all the beautiful Sean moments. Like there were so many beautiful guitar parts you wrote that were like, fuck, where do we put all these incredibly beautiful guitars?
And I think we just like organized it in a very tasteful way, which I think was everything leaned towards the song.
Alice? This is like personally so special. At the time that I wrote it, I hadn't written a song by myself in like over 2 years. And I had like lost faith in my ability to write songs by myself. I just like sat down and it just like happened. And it just like poured out of me. Truly like probably one of the greatest moments of joy when we did that like love list. And it was like one of 3 songs that everyone loved.
Also a song that I think unanimously are like, we don't really need to touch it, you know what I mean? And we didn't really do anything in Georgia.
Obviously we're a band with a shit ton of production and like we love to use the computer as an instrument, you know, which is a vibe. But it's cool to have songs like Coffin or Atlas that kind of just feel more like, you know, they can be a little rough around the edges.
It's a beautiful song, dude.
Good job.
Out of My Body is a weird one because that was not going to be on the album.
Kind of giving Portugal the Man a little bit, sort of sly and like a little bit of like neighborhood and coin and shit, which is cool.
I don't know how you do it, yeah. But there's a rhythm in the room and I can't keep up. It's fluid, also fluid, yeah.
Busy ass fucking percussion and that cowbell part.
Right. And then we added halftime, which has mixed feelings.
My favorite moment of music on the album, this is going to piss off James, but it's the end of Out of My Body. Because any chance that you get to go into halftime, you do it. Because why the fuck not?
Every time I hear it, I do smile because I'm like, this is so goofy.
I do laugh. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think it's so cool.
But I generally think it's
Yeah,
a
I agree.
halftime I can get behind.
Until my sins so controlling.
This is another song that we wrote with, or started with Sean Silverman.
Sean had brought in like some guitar loops. We listened to a bunch of them and it was just that intro loop that he had.
It is a weird combination of sounds, but I think that's what makes it such an awesome song. Like, why does it have like the biggest guitars you've ever heard, but then like it's like a drum machine?
Right, yeah.
Why did you put so much reverb on it?
But yeah, just such a cool song. Probably one of my favorites. Just, you know, any song where it's anything Deftones adjacent, I'm like, yes.
That was sick.
That was awesome.
You fucking nailed that.
Dude, this is what I do all day.
This is all I do with my life.
I remember there was this do or die moment with Nosedive because the day up was dramatically different in terms of the writing.
We cut so many vocals for that.
Yeah, I mean, we probably wrote 4 or 5 verses.
When we were like at the final writing session for that song, I think all of us were just kind of like,
Fuck this.
I don't know if I want to write anymore for this fucking song.
Yeah, tracking these drums, kind of realizing that this is gonna be a pain in the ass playing live.
I'll dive, dum, dum, I'll dive, dum.
It's definitely been an extremely polarizing song for the band.
This song, I think we had like a 4-hour
talked so extensively
I'm like,
about
this
this
is
so
a
much.
good song.
Yeah, and then we're like, cool. We don't agree at all.
Right.
Shake hands and we left.
Yeah.
And that was that.
Yeah.
There you go.
In a similar way to Nosedive, for me, I felt like there's another hole on the record of like pop banger. It feels like it's like wearing its heart on its sleeve.
Thought that I could cut it out.
We need to get drunk and write songs more.
Yeah, holy shit.
I remember when we did the Trading Punches Day of, though, basically we came in and we were like, we want to make an absurdly fast song.
Yeah. The Google Doc for the lyrics was called crack music.
There you go.
It's weirdly emotional for me too. Like it was one of those that I feel like it didn't really like sink in for me, like how heavy, like emotionally it felt.
The emotion in the performance, I feel like, was what we were after. You know, it was one where I'm glad we didn't want to settle. It was tough to come back and listen and admit that, like, we didn't have it.
Yeah.
After working on it for so long, blowing your voice out completely, and then doing all that, and then coming back again and being like, we don't have it.
I would say favorite part is the hardest song to sing, just because it does that Fall Out Boy thing of just staying on that top note, and then also to be in character while you're doing that is hard.
We did like 150 vocal takes or something, like something absurd like that.
Over the past 3 years, I've been really like struggling to get like a healthy grasp on grief and all this kind of stuff, and I think that this is a really beautiful way to promote a little bit of a better mental health perspective towards the loss of people, and being like, I'm going to choose to look back and see what we were at our greatest. And I think that the way that you guys saw the ending of that being like so intimate and raw and natural really paid like homage, like musical homage to that for me. It's going to be one of those ones live that I think is going to sneak up. It's definitely one of my favorite lyrical songs on the album.
Totally.
And I love the idea. It encapsulates such a good feeling of, well, it's a terrible feeling, but it's hopeful in like a really painful way, I think.
At the end of the trip, the album was not finished. I was very nervous. COVID hit us hard while we were in Georgia and completely messed up the timing and the ability to be in the same place recording. And therefore, we had a lot of things that were just overlooked, or we weren't in the same room writing a certain part.
It all leads up to this moment of going to Georgia and like intentionally trying to submerge yourself in the experience. And the fact that we weren't totally able to do that like as a group made things tough.
We talked about being like, we're gonna go in and we're gonna leave with the album. Like, we're gonna leave with the album like ready to go to mix, which was like maybe like a bit ambitious to leave and like be so far off from that goal, at least, of like having a mix ready album. It was like pretty disheartening.
It was hard to appreciate at the end of Georgia what we had accomplished. We needed time away from it to really let it sit. There was no album name at the time we left Georgia, and that was a big question mark, I think, until we really retackled the songs like a month later.
We wanted the album name to feel like a thing that just presents itself.
There was always something about Nowhere as a song that felt revolutionary for us. I know that's a big word, but it was weird. It made me uncomfortable, and I liked it. And I like the idea of not making a safe first album. I like making something that, you know, pushes the boundaries.
We were looking at the track list, and we were like, what about Nowhere? And it just was one of those things where it's like, oh, it's so fitting. It's so perfect.
My favorite moment from making the whole record, it was the night that we all got incredibly hammered and had a dance party in the studio for 4 hours or so. That had nothing to do with making the album, but everything to do with having a nice time.
I'm looking forward to the feeling of closure you get when you finally release music that you've been working on for so long. There's like a really unique experience of listening to the music after it's released and kind of feeling like you're listening to it again for the first time.
I'm excited for people to find their favorite song. I love seeing that stuff. I feel like I spent way too much time in the comments section on YouTube, like when I'm like, I can't sleep or something, and just seeing the way that people relate to these certain songs and the feelings of the musicality or whatever is so cool. And I'm so excited to have more of that for people to dig into.
I think the biggest thing I got out of the album was just continually learning about our work process as a group, which is still an evolving thing, but I feel like we made strides in a direction that we maybe hadn't expected it to go.
It was such great time. making music with people you love. I'll always have those memories of us being in Blue Ridge, Georgia, making the Nowhere album. It's really special.
I got a closeness with a group of guys that is not just a friendship. I don't know if we really have any words for it. It's realizing your small but important role in something that's more important than just you, but wouldn't be the same thing without you. And it really, there's this harmony that I think that I came out of this album with.
I'm really grateful for the experience and getting to do it with, 4 of my best friends and, the middle of fucking nowhere.
I think that all of life and experience and why we do things comes down to the idea of legacy for a lot of us and leaving a legacy. And I struggle with that because there's so many pitfalls in there. But having something like this album that I get to enjoy while I'm here has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. So yes, I'm very happy with the way it turned out.